So heads up any anime-only fans of One Piece, because I will be talking about spoilers. If you're an anime-only watcher, at this point in time, you should be long gone. And I'll see you on the flip side. That being said, I want to spend a few minutes talking about the latest fights that we've got in One Piece so far. Very Enies Lobby style when it comes to the fights so far in Onigashima. And I've been enjoying them through and through for the most part. Of course, number one, Jinbei versus the Oasis Wascal, Who's Who. Number two, Franky versus the AC-130 Triceratops Call of Duty helicopter, Sasaki. And number three, Robin, finally, after 15 plus years in the making, Robin versus every hentai spider Black Maria. So let's start off like this. Each one of these fights, I think, could have been better. Now, that is a very general statement, so let me clarify, obviously. From what I gather, each one of these fights is simply the closure of the fight. Because we know that Jinbei and Who's Who, Franky and Sasaki, and Robin Black Maria, they've been fighting off screen for a period of time. And one thing that in this arc we have noted to time and time again is how fast-paced this arc is. Ever since I think Act 1, I've been saying how fast-paced Wano country is. And in no other act have we seen this accelerated pace compared to other arcs than in Act 3. Act 3 is blitzkrieg fast. Even though Wano country has been going on for X amount of years, and it's been the longest arc so far, it is still grossly fast. And the main reason why is because you have so many different plot points, so many different variables going on in this arc, that to probably cover them all, you'd probably need, I would argue, at least a 250 chapter arc if Oda were to go back to a pace that was, let's say, like a pre-time skip pace, if you would, where things were more fleshed out and more drawn out. I would argue that some of these fights we're not going to see for a minute now, or they're going to be done off screen. Whether it's Drake versus Apu, whether it is the ninja duel of the Hokages, Fukurokuju versus Raizo, whether it is Killer versus Hawkins, like, and then Luffy at some point does go up there and fight against Kaido again. So all of these fights we're seeing at this point in time, the main three fights are Straw Hats. Again, Jinbei, Who's Who, Robin, Black Maria, and so on. They're just the closures of these fights. Now, number one, let's focus on Who's Who versus Jinbei. This I thought was overall a pretty good fight. I think it's the second best fight among the three so far. What I did like, number one, when this guy pulls out his quote katana and it's like a dagger, that was very amusing. And then he pulls out the Rokushiki pistol blade, the blade pistol, and then from there he does the shade, and he does the Rankaku Tempest kicks. This was dope because I think a lot of us really do like the Rokushiki stuff in Enies Lobby and Water 7. A lot of folks would say that it's the coolest martial arts style of One Piece, and that arc in particular, Enies Lobby, was the best arc in the series. A lot of folks argue that. Part of the reason why is because the Rokushiki techniques were so damn dope. And knowing that several of the Straw Hats, Sanji with the Skywalk, Geppo, Luffy incorporating Soru himself, knowing that several of the Straw Hats have incorporated their skills, that moveset, into their own skills, I think is a testament to how cool and how powerful Rokushiki really is. And then one of the dope things too is that a lot of people, I think, I'm not saying that hockey doesn't matter, but a lot of folks put too much stake on hockey sometimes, I would argue, where they say that hockey is the only important thing moving forward when it comes to combat, when it's clearly not. Who's Who's Fang Pistol can actually bite through Jinbei's hard armor hockey skin. And then Jinbei has to avoid the Fang Pistol barrage, and the Fang Pistols are biting through all this debris like they're goddamn Pac-Man. Like really scary, horrifying Pac-Man. And Jinbei himself, of course, again, a hockey user, but also a martial arts himself in the Fishman Karate. So what we're getting here is a martial arts duel. And seeing how that plays out is really damn cool. Especially when you have Who's Who being compared to himself, to Rob Lucci, aka Rob Gucci. So you have to wonder, how good is Rob Gucci compared to Who's Who? You'd assume he's better because Rob Lucci's Cypher Poe age is 0. Rob Lucci spent X amount of years training after his failure in Enies Lobby, X amount, and so on and so forth. And a lot of folks to this day have Rob Gucci in their top 30, including myself. Absolutely, I do. And you have to wonder, okay, well, how good is Rob Lucci now? And we can maybe use Who's Who in a very weird roundabout way to gauge Rob Lucci's power. If you want to use the movies, we have Film Gold, where him and Sabo scrap. That is a big testament to the power of Rob Gucci. And then in Stampede, he fights against Sanji off screen. So at the end of the day, maybe Who's Who would be a way folks could try and gauge Rob Lucci's power, potentially. But nonetheless, Jinbei does get that fat W with the Demon Brickfist. Now, maybe it's not done yet, but I have my doubts because we don't return to that fight. So I'm assuming that Who's Who is down and he's, all well and gone. Maybe we see his face. Does that really matter? Kind of not, honestly. Unless, of course, Oda actually cares about Who's Who's identity and how they'll play a role into the story for the future. At the end of the day, Jinbei's Fishin' Karate, Ogi, which is his second Ogi so far. So it was the Vagabond drill before that he used to knock him off the ship. And then now we have the Demon Brick Fist, which is Haki imbued. And obviously the key thing here is that him imbuing Haki into the attack with the Fishin' Karate would mean that he is doing vastly more internal organ damage as a result. That's one of the main principles of Fishin' Karate. So Demon Brick Fist overall was solid. He may have done at one point in time full body armor Haki, but it's hard to really gauge. I'm not too sure. The anime will fill in that, and that's one thing I will say. I'm very confident in a lot of things being clipped in the anime. At this point in time, absolutely. The details and the slow pace of the anime compared to the manga for this arc makes it significantly better than the manga. And to me, it is my second favorite fight out of the 3 fights. Now, Franky vs. Sasaki, compared to Who's Who and Jinbei, is actually a much shorter fight where it's like one predominant chapter. And this fight is strange. It's very trippy. Like you dabbled in LSD after eating some shrooms. Like, not even Joe Rogan would go that far. And you are long gone. You're way off planet. You're way past the Kuiper Belt. You're completely gone from the galaxy. All right? You are just, your body's here, but your mind and your spirit, you're seeing the universe how it really is. That's Franky versus Sasaki. It is very strange. And honest to goodness, Franky's fight, I think I'm not saying it's bad, but among the 3 fights so far, I would say it's the worst. It's not bad, but it's the worst among those 3 fights. And the fight is a little bit more goofier compared to the other 2 fights, that's for sure. Also, Franky doesn't really show anything new. As far as I see it, Franky does nothing really new. And it's like maybe the general suplex, you can argue, is new, because we never seen, I guess, the Iron Pirate, the Franky Shogun, actually do a suplex. But compared to the Robin fight, where Robin shows off some really unique new whoa, and we'll get the real soon, obviously. Again, outside the general suplex, I don't see what's really new for Franky in this fight. Whether it's the V for Victory Flash, which, to be very fair, in this case it is an air cut rather than a direct contact cut. However, it's still, I would argue, not as new as what you would expect for Franky in this arc, considering how in Zou, Franky said that he was going to build weapons against Kaido. And no offense for the V for Victory Flash, but it is not going to be Kaido. So right now, FKK not looking as strong as it used to be. Or the General Cannon, which we saw him use against Baby 5 and Buffalo in Punk Hazard, and once again another helicopter foe Franky to fight against. So Oda really pushing the notion of Franky being the anti-air artillery, which is pretty funny. And then finally the radical beam that Franky used to actually take down Sasaki. So nothing that he does in this fight is new, but he does get that W nonetheless. And it's safe to assume that without the Franky Iron Pirate, he would have lost one-on-one against Sasaki. But overall, the fight was pretty funny. It really did remind me of Kaku and Zoro, where it does have that goofy kind of feel to it. And what's very interesting too is that Sasaki does no haki. He has a trick sword. He has a trick body. His whole thing is trick or treat. Great for Halloween. The kids love him. But I'm not too... He does no haki. Maybe you can... Okay, he probably does the invisible aura. Like the baseline haki. Maybe. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to fully perceive. And honest to goodness, I think on the safe side, let's just say that he used practically no haki. Armament haki or observation haki in this fight. That's what I would say. And Franky gets that W nonetheless. I still think I prefer Senior Pink versus Franky over Franky versus Sasaki. And honest to God, all of them kind of fall flat compared to Fukudo of CP9 versus Franky. That was a good fight. That was a good fight. Yes, that was. Now, finally, my girl, Nico Robin. In hindsight, 3 things stood out the most for Robin's fight. A fight that we've been waiting for, Robin fans have been waiting for a very, very, very long time. Number 1 is that in chapter 120, when it's titled Robin vs. Black Maria, it's not actually a fight, like an actual physical fight. It's Robin versus her in terms of her standing in the crew, if you would, and their takes on Sanji, essentially. And how wrong Black Maria is and how right Robin is. So it's like a more of a verbal versus rather than actual physical versus. Basically, who has the better bars. And how Robin doesn't want any of her friends to get hurt in a general sense. Because here you have Black Maria, she's setting fire to the entire castle, right? And Black Maria doesn't care at all. Because she has her own comrades in this castle. And she's like, who gives a damn? Light it all on fire. Kind of harkens back to the whole concept of the troublesome woman. I think that's what the tattoo says on her back. And we also see other members of the Beast Pirates, whether it's Queen, Who's Who, Sasaki, intentionally or not, also attack or harm their own crew members. And Robin's like, stop, what are you doing? You're setting fire to the entire castle. Calm down. And she's like, oh, are you worried about that? Oh my God, aren't you so special? So Black Maria and Robin, in that chapter, they do fight. It is a quote versus, but it's clearly a fight based on ideology rather than anything else. The main fight is in the next chapter, chapter 1021, obviously, and this is where the second thing comes into play. Robin one-shots Black Maria. Black Maria in chapter 1021 is fairly dominant. She kicks a lot of ass. She does all sorts of attacks to really shut down Robin. Whether it's the Marionette, whether it's the Mari Apprehend, whether it's the Orion Knuckles, or the Mari Arson, Black Maria really does have Robin's number on so many fronts. Like, Robin had to show up something brand spanking new, no pun intended, baby, but brand spanking new to really shut down Black Maria. Because Black Maria was just so dominant. And then once that flashback hits, or I should say once the flashbacks, that's one thing that fight that was very strange. I didn't catch it before, but the fact that it was 2 flashbacks, not 1, 2 flashbacks, that I thought was very oddly structured. I'm not gonna lie to you. But seeing her use the Fishman Karate, the Gigateum, that was cool as all hell. And then when she does that, she destroys the ceiling, and all that rubble snuffs out the fire. So that was really dope seeing Robin do that. Very dope. And then Demonio Fleur. Oh my goodness. I mean, this was intense, yo. This was intense. Robin, that one single moment as a Robin fanboy who has an extreme bias, yes, I'll say it full well. Robin is one of my favorite girls in anime, period. Period. When she came out with the Demonio Fleur, the Grand Jacuzzi Clutch, and she just breaks Black Maria's spine. Her neck. Ugh. Ugh. I love that. I love that. That was by far, out of the 3 fights so far, the dopest finisher. That was by far the dopest finisher.
Homicide! No, look out! Oh!
So then number 3 among the points is that Robin does something genuinely new, whereas Franky does not, and Jinbei you can't really gauge on what's new or not, obviously. He may have had the Demon Brickfist all this time. Probably, actually. Because all he's doing is combining Haki and his Gojin Karate. However, Robin appears to be, it's not confirmed obviously, but Robin appears to be, I think, awakened. The shading that we see on her body is, well, just that, shading. Because her having armored Haki to that extent makes no sense. We've never seen Zoro or Luffy or Sanji or Jinbei incorporate that much Haki ever. How could Robin do that? That makes no sense, number 1, compared to those 4. Number 2 is, when you think about who Robin is as a fighter, Robin awakening makes a lot more sense compared to actually having Haki mastery to that extent. And then even going further, Black Mirror herself also, like Sasaki, showcases 0 Haki, whether it's observation or armored Haki. So, at the end of the day, the fight was very lopsided in chapter 1021 for the vast majority of the chapter, yes. But Robin pulls out 2 brand spanking new things. She spanks the ceiling, and then the grand jacuzzi clutch in demon form. The life of a villain is tough, make no mistake. But Robin came out with that fat W. And as a Robin fanboy, made me very happy. Very happy to see that. That is my favorite fight among the 3 fights thus far. Moving forward, we're going to see probably the other fights as well. We're going to see Zoro fight against someone now that he's back in gear, probably. Sanji and Queen, let's see how that rolls out, obviously. I want to see the Hokage duel between Raizo and Raizo Fukurokuju. Do I care about Killer versus Hawkins? Not necessarily. Nah, not really. And, of course, there is Law and Kid versus Big Mom. Now, I know a lot of folks... It's funny. A lot of the Kid fans have been quiet. They've been hush-hush ever since they realized that Kid wasn't Luffy. A lot of folks, after Rooftop, realized, oh, wait, hold up. There's only one Monkey D. Luffy. It is what it is. Like I've been saying for years, it is what it is. Luffy is just that dude. 2 years of training for a reason. For a reason. So, on that note, let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. I'm going to see you guys and gals on the flip side. You guys and gals, make sure to stay safe, take care, be easy, and have a nice one.